the call, it's the lion's share. It's the lion's share. It's the lion's share. It's the lion's share.
Welcome back. Welcome into the Lion's Share. Happy Victory Tuesday to all those who celebrate. Lions defeat the Baltimore Ravens in front of the lights, in front of the world on Monday Night Football. Darkness falls was the theme of the game for the Ravens. However, darkness was falling on them, not the Lions. Not probably what they were intending for and not what a lot of people predicted. ESPN, NFL Network, everybody was picking the Baltimore Ravens, except for us, Andrew. We all had the Detroit Lions. So we're without Mitch today. We hope your travels are going well. We miss you. We'll be back with you actually in person here later this week. We're going to get a Lion's Share reunion. The board's going to get together. Fun fact. However, I digress. Shout out to Mitch. Andrew, he said in our group chat that some of those drives were the best that he's seen in years, best he's ever seen from a Detroit Lions team. Do you feel like the Lions yesterday against the Ravens, do you feel like that was maybe, dare I say, the most complete victory we've ever had from this squad?
I'd say it's very close. I'd have to argue. I'd have to go check the text as well to see if Mitchell actually witnessed those drives or if he only saw highlights the following day, because some boys can't hang. But, I think what would have made that the most complete complimentary game is if the defense or as if the offense scored off of those turnovers.
And that's got to be something that Dan's harping on this week as they prepare for the Browns, right?
You don't get we talk about it. You don't get momentum swings like that. And Brian Branch dropped a would-be pick. I don't know if he dropped two or if it was somebody else who dropped the other one, maybe TA. But those are the momentum swings we talk about, and you have to capitalize on that. Dan talked about it after the Bears game. We didn't capitalize on our turnovers. That was a big thing that they wanted a point of emphasis on. So it's going to be a point of emphasis once again.
Brian Branch, he's got to be kicking himself. He dropped one last night against the Ravens. He had one against the Pack, right? Or he had one against the Bears that got taken back on a penalty against the Lions. So he's really got to be kicking himself. He's probably holds the lead in the league for most interceptions not completed. He's got to. You're right though. Like the one yesterday, change a few little things in that game, and we could be talking about a Ravens victory. And if that were the case, Brian would be really upset.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, I'm personally upset. We've got a turnover clock here. The games are ticking by, and those numbers pretty high still.
Yeah, we got 3 on the year for the Lions. Should be a few more, right? Like we talked about, a few called back on penalties and other sorts. But now we've got three on the year. And for those who listened to the preview show ahead of the season, Andrew and I both looked at about the 30 to 32 range for the Lions. We thought this defense was going to step up, and they have. And we'll touch on that in a minute about how this defense is really growing under Shep and how the offense is also seemingly growing from a point where we already thought this offense was maybe at its peak with Ben Johnson, and Johnny Moe has eclipsed that perhaps with the performance they had last night. But yeah, we are now with 29 turnovers remaining. If we want to get to 32, folks, you got to root for 29 more. And with 14 games remaining? About 2 a game. We'll call it 2 a game right now. That's what they're looking for. Yeah, we'll keep a running count on that as the year goes on. But I'm hoping for maybe a 3 or 4 turnover game that'll really bump up those numbers. But yeah, we're going to break down Lions Ravens here for you without Mitch. Shout out, we're missing you, buddy. And then we'll get you out of here talking about the Lions versus the Browns, who are right around the corner. It's a short week for the Lions. It's a short week for this podcast. Andrew, for those watching on YouTube, by the way, you can watch us on YouTube. Every episode is on YouTube in the video format, if you prefer that. And you can also watch us on Spotify video, and you can see Andrew do a complete 180 and now back. So I think that's a 360 now. He's repping the Browns. And by the way, you never did, because you came in a little late last Wednesday, you never did come up with the Ravens hat. So now we're kind of in that weird position where you wore the Bears, they beat the Bears. You didn't wear the Ravens, but they still beat the Ravens.
Joke's on you. I wore it off air.
The juju was still there, is what you're telling me. So do you have a Bengals hat? Because that would be the next opponent, I believe, after the Browns.
I'd have to go check it. I think the only other orange ones I got are Denver and Miami, so might be tough. Might have to go shop.
Yeah, maybe a little early birthday present, perhaps.
Hey, man, we just call it a present at that point.
Need one of those 40% off codes again from the NFL shop. Just that's when you should have bought every hat. Imagine the haul you could have gotten. That's like getting 32 hats for the price of 20, about like 18, something like that, if I'm doing the math.
I'm going to need somebody else to check the math on that one. My pea brain can't handle that.
Is it your pea brain or is it the lack of sleep from last night? We were up late watching this game.
Stayed up late, up early, watching highlights, all the above, man.
Was it hard for you to go to sleep after that?
Oh, very much so. I had to watch the whole post game. I had to watch Amon-Ra apologize for the language on TV. That was fun to watch. And then also got to view probably the worst away locker rooms I think I've ever seen. They had Jared Goff over the top of the middle section of lockers just to break the team down, which was tough to watch.
You said that, and I couldn't be mentally prepared for how bad it actually was. I guess I haven't seen the Baltimore Ravens away locker rooms before. I'm not familiar with their game, but I am now. Yeah, that was way worse than I could have thought. I told you in the group chat, it felt like a set for a documentary. Like, it didn't seem like, with how much money goes into these leagues, or into this league, I should say, in some of the units, I mean, call me old school, but some of the locker rooms are getting even crazy. I mean, the chairs, everything is so nice in them. But I don't know. Maybe I kind of, in a weird way, respect it from the Ravens. Like, if you're coming into our house, don't expect anything nice.
It's the same thing as pulling the fire alarm in the hotel the night before, man. You're in enemy territory, and nobody's going to be nice to you. Don't expect it.
And I don't expect it, I guess, from Baltimore. Look it up, folks, shareholders out there. That is an interesting sight, to say the least. It's got to be one of the lowest rated away stadiums, locker rooms. Are you surprised, Andrew? I mean, think back to when we came on this podcast after the Lions, Packers, and folks who didn't get to see our group chat, maybe give a peek behind the curtain about how upset we were immediately following the Packers game. Maybe a little bit less upset after we broke down the film a little bit and recorded the following day. 24 hours removed was probably a good thing for the listeners of this podcast, because it would have been raw emotion had we come on right after the Packers game, because we weren't feeling very good. And to be honest, I was optimistic. I felt like it was coming. I thought the defense was really going to turn it on after the bye. And I still think we have not even seen close to what this defense is capable of. It's coming. But all that to say, are you surprised, Andrew, how quickly it kind of came together? I did not expect the offensive line to gel like they did. I did not expect the defense to be complementing even at separate levels. It just seemed like it kind of exceeded expectations for me.
Well, and I think that was the reason for the loss, right? We had those expectations and they fell extremely short of it. We talked about it as the energy in the building. They came out with a lot more energy in enemy territory last night, but I think the longtime Lions said it to me immediately following that game is maybe this is their wake-up call. And by golly, they needed to set one alarm and one alarm only, and they are fully awake at this point, it feels like.
Fully awake is a good way to put it. We harped on these guys for not getting playing time in the preseason, and it ultimately led to slow starts over the last couple of years. Color me surprised to see them in Game 3 come out with probably, I would venture to say that was playoff football. There were a lot of little mistakes that got kind of swept under the rug based on just how prolific the offense and defense and just how crazy this game was. Both teams over 300 yards of offense and fireworks across the board. But I'm surprised kind of to see how much effort I saw from this team. And honestly, go back to our predictions from preseason. I said they were going to go about 500 on the road. I might have to change that based on what I saw. I definitely didn't have this one at M&T Bank as a win for the Lions coming into the season. Mitch and I both kind of talked it out before we started recording our preview on Walkthrough Wednesday, and we flipped ours to take the Lions because for a couple of reasons. We were feeling contrarian. We just didn't feel like we could go against the Lions, and it felt like this was the time. The revenge tour has really hit every single door at this point. Now we got to get revenge on the Commanders later this season.
Yeah, the revenge will come full force. I don't think it's a matter of them playing on the road, playing at home. I think this game was a big culmination of Dan Campbell in a nutshell. I mean, you go back to where it all began, and we got Hard Knocks in Detroit, and he had a lot of memorable quotes from that. I think one of them is, doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek or two, I will still kick your ass. Something along those lines. But the more memorable one for me, and what resembled this game for me, was we're going to find a way to just drag you. Well, we're going to stay in the shallows, and we will drag you out until we eventually drown you. And that's what that game felt like. It took a lot of shots on the defense, but did the defense ever quit? Not one time. 7 sacks is crazy, and to get them from 6 different players is even crazier.
Yeah, exactly. 7 sacks. I would have never had that on my bingo card, especially against a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, who is so shifty. I guess bringing in Malik Cunningham paid dividends.
Yeah, and you'd have to correct me, but Dan was talking about that either post-game, or I think it was post-game he was talking about it. First day of practice last week, Malik had a big day of practice, he said. A lot of yards gained. Defense really couldn't stop him. Second day got a little bit better, and by Friday, I think he said, Malik was really bottled up, couldn't get out of the pocket, and it's just, we're going to really have to listen to what Shep says throughout the week at this point, because he gives, and he might have to keep it a little closer to the vest. He really gives away kind of their game plan. This is what we're going to do. This is what we want to do. But maybe that's all part of it. This is what we want to do. Go ahead and try to stop us from it.
Yeah, I think it speaks to the confidence that he has in himself and in this defense, and a confidence that we've seen from him at the linebacker coach level even. He's always been, he is true. He's consistent to who he is. Give him credit for that. And, man, I got to give him the flowers for this defense. Look, they still gave up 30 points, but that's on a day where, truthfully, the Baltimore Ravens had good field position throughout the game. And that's another point I wanted to touch on, too, is Lions had 8 penalties for 68 yards. Baltimore only had 3 penalties. And, Andrew, I know you probably have some things to say about that, the refs in this one. But my point being, for them to lose the penalty battle that intensely and to make several mistakes, little ones, uncharacteristically, they didn't turn the ball over, and Jared Goff didn't get sacked. So they did those things right. But all that to say, to have that penalty be so far against their favor, and also to have some of the longest fields I can remember in recent memory for this Lions team to go 98 yards, 96 yards twice. I mean, my goodness, an uphill battle against all the odds, and still to come out with truthfully, 38-30 doesn't tell the whole story. I mean, truthfully, this was a 2-score win for the Lions.
It was, and it wasn't like a traditional, it was traditional in the sense of, look at Jared Goff's stat line. A pretty standard line for Jared Goff, and it was just a hard-nosed, ground-and-pound game. And you saw him trying to force it with Gibbs up the middle, so that they can try to get him on the edge. And hats off to Johnny Moe on that for not stopping. Don't just give up on it and move on. Keep coming back to it. And then to throw Montgomery in there for a few series where, hey, we're still coming right up the middle, but now it's our traditional middle runner. And he really excels in that role. And we were talking about him. I don't understand the difference. It's like Gibbs hits the hole maybe a little too fast and the hole hasn't developed. Montgomery just a step slower. The hole opens, he jump cuts left, he jump cuts right. You try to bring him down with one guy, won't happen. You try to jump on his back, he's going to carry you. You're going to have to work to bring that guy down every single time.
Exactly right. And I did find the graphic from ESPN that I touched on before the show, Andrew, that I was telling you about how it really sums up David Montgomery when he was at Iowa State, but where he is now too in the NFL, maybe even exceeds it. They called him the running back Frankenstein. And it's so true. The feet of Saquon Barkley, the vision of Le'Veon Bell, which kind of speaks to what you're talking about. Remember that slow little methodical pace that Le'Veon Bell, that little pause that he would have that no one could really replicate. David's got that, maybe not as quite the level that Le'Veon did. I don't know if anybody's in that category, but the strength of Ezekiel Elliott, which I think he's stronger than Zeke for sure. At that time, Zeke was kind of the premier back when David was at Iowa State, and the athleticism of Sony Michel, which again, I think there's probably a better comparison now, but at the time, this was years ago, of course. But that's the makeup, the running back makeup of David Montgomery, and it's true. It really hits the nail on the head with that one.
A guy's a freak, and what's crazy is like you got to try to find a way to get him into the game. You've got another freaking Gibbs. They're putting Amon-Ra in the background. To Sam Laporta's credit, this is an unselfish team. There's a lot of mouths to feed. Nobody complains. There's no divas, and everybody in the pride gets fed.
Yeah, you see it week in and week out in those locker room speeches. Those guys are fired up for their guys when they get them, especially when those guys get them like Muhammad, who got one last night, especially when those outlier guys get one who make a big splash and step up in a big way when Davenport's gone down to IR. Players like Muhammad are they're rewarded for it, and that's why players love to play for Dan Campbell and this team. And Johnny Mo, back to the offense, I mean, tone has totally shifted on him after week 1, and now here, fast forward to week 3, I don't see anybody doubting him now, but man, he had to be just so ecstatic to take this job when you see all those weapons that you talked about, Andrew. How can you stop this offense? Like, it's almost unfathomable. Like, we have such the luxury of seeing it week in, week out. You almost take it for granted because of just the opportunities. And this is even without Isaac Tesla fully involved in this offense.
Yeah, I mean, you say he's not fully involved, but he was in quite a few plays blocking. Same with Leaf. He would come in off the edge, in motion, directly into a block. So, I mean, I don't even think it's that. But for Johnny Mo, why would you not want to take the job? He's a guy that doesn't see, I think he said he does not want to be a head coach. That's not who he is. So you've got a long-term guy. Hopefully, you've got the answer there long-term. And I think hands up on me, I said it wasn't ever going to get sexy again. I'd say that pitch from Amon-Ra was pretty sexy. You've got the pass from Montgomery back to Goff to who ended up catching that one? Was it St. Brown? I'm going to take a guess.
I think it was St. Brown. It was maybe him or Laporta.
Laporte. I mean, there you go. Another name too, a top tier tight end. And then we had JMO, 2 catches early on that took the top off that defense to open up more runs, which I think was my favorite part, because you're saying, how do you stop this offense? And I think the blueprint's already been laid. You stop the run. You don't let them get the run game going. They can't open up the play action playbook. And then guys get to tee off. The defensive line gets to tee off and really pin their ears back. And so if you don't get that run game going, it's really hard to develop anything else, and you get kind of locked into your playbook. I think that's what I liked so much about JMO catching the 2 early balls. Instead of opening up the pass game with runs, they opened up the run game with passes and then worked backwards from there, which was eye-opening and fun to watch.
Complementary football. People think that's your offense helping out your defense, which traditionally it is, and that's what we saw for the most part. It had some holes in it, like Dan will probably touch on this week with guys, address that. But it's also complementary with your run game helping out your pass game, and your pass game helping out your run game, and they have that ability to kind of, pull that, and when one side needs a rise, they can do that. And I echo that same point for the defense. The defensive line helping out their secondary helping out their defensive line. That's what was missing last year, specifically on the defense. The offense had its sputters, but for the most part, the offense was the offense that we know and love. So, but the defense, that's what really was eye-opening to me. Yes, they gave up 30 points, but a lot of those were on short fields and against a Baltimore Ravens offense that has yet to be held under 30 points all year. So a prolific offense, and got some of the best offensive weapons. Speaking of the Lions having offensive weapons, the Ravens are right up there as well.
Obviously, they were without Likely. That's a big one that they lost. They had a lot of big injuries, which, sweet. I'll take all the help we can get at this point. Isaiah Likely being gone was big, but Mark Andrews, boy, oh boy, did he step up. He had himself a game. That guy is huge. I always think he's like the regular size of a tight end. I think he's about 4 inches bigger and just thicker than your average tight end. He's fun to watch, but credit to Lamar on his touchdown. That's not normally where you throw a ball to a tight end.
No, it's not. No, I had the same thought, honestly.
I mean, it was beauty, right where it needed to be.
And Mark Andrews fantasy owners, I'm sure, rejoicing because a quiet start this year, and he had his struggles last year too, but 2 touchdowns for him that last night and 91 yards. That's going to get it done every week for you in fantasy from the tight end position. But you know what I like, and I don't. Do you have more to say about that?
No, I had something else. It's real off topic. You don't want me to get into.
Okay. Well, we love the off topic. That's where we thrive. But you know what I'm looking at this box score is what are we used to seeing every week from the opposing teams, Andrew? What are we used to from last year and the year before?
Seen from opposing teams?
Yeah, like what do we typically see in a box score specifically? If you need a hint, specifically in the receiving category.
Oh God, you gonna talk about TA getting burned again?
Well, we can touch on that too, but my point is I want to give the defense a compliment, the secondary specifically, even more specifically. That's a tongue twister. DJ Reed is really starting to play well. Had his struggles in week 1, but he's come on like this whole offense and defense has. He's really come on, and he had a PFF grade, I think, around 91. So really showing out. A lot of Lions showing out with high PFFs. But my point is, we were so used to, remember CeeDee Lamb, like 200 yards, Justin Jefferson, 200 yards. And if they weren't over 200, they were at 150. And if they weren't at 150, they were at least at 120. We didn't have a single guy. And now, granted, they spread the ball around, did the Ravens. So Mark Andrews had 91 yards, knocking on that 100. And then Bateman with 63, Justice Hill with 45. But they locked down Hopkins with 1 catch, and they also locked down Zay Flowers, who's been solid for them with only 2 catches, and those 2 catches didn't come to the second half. So my point is, wow, is that a breath of fresh air to see like a decent. It's got some work to do still, but we're not seeing those wide receivers go off and just torch that secondary.
Yeah, and I mean, to go back to your point on complimentary too, like give the Lions some credit there too. They got upfield, made Lamar uncomfortable, took his eyes off downfield to have to look for a lane to scramble, and then they held those lanes really well. Didn't let him get outside and extend it. There was a couple times here and there, which it's Lamar Jackson. What are you going to do? But for the most part, made him run straight ahead, and you're going to have to fight your way by your own offensive lineman. And if you have to run by your own offensive lineman, you inherently have to run by a defender. And if they don't grab him, then they're probably getting grabbed by the offensive lineman, and you're hoping you're getting a holding call at that point. I mean, it opens the door for all these things to happen, guys trying to make plays and all. And Yeah, just go back to complimentary. Good on them. And I think they've got to be that way because TA is going to get exposed all year long. He's going to be the guy that teams pick on. And if that line can cut it down by a second and a half, they've won. They've won that every single time. You'll take some chunk yardage plays down the field. This defense is going to give up points. But, take the old Micah Parsons rule. If the offense can get 20, that should be enough to win this game.
Mm-hmm. And if they can get 38, if they can get north of 30, you should be golden every week. Were you a little concerned when D-Hop and TA got into it, like he might be in his head? Because I was.
I very much was, but at the same time, Puka Nacua gets called for a taunting call for giving the first down marker, and there was nothing on that one. I just make it make sense, NFL.
The taunting rule has such latitude in it. It's crazy, and it's really dependent on the crew. Obviously, Vinovich's crew, not
makeup crew. Yeah, whatever.
Purple makeup crew. Obviously, they weren't flag happy on the taunting side of things. Maybe that comes into it being a primetime matchup. They just let them play a little bit more in the primetime. I don't know. Who knows? But regardless, I was a little worried there about TA. But that defense, credit to them. They specifically the defensive line. They weren't getting to Lamar early. They were getting close a few times, but they really chipped away. Similar to the run game on the offense, just kept going to it, and wear them down. Defensive line was really wearing down that offensive line for the Ravens, and they've, I don't know how many they had. I think they maybe had one sack in the first half, and that was on that fourth down stop.
I think so.
Credit to them. That was a huge stop. And so then you open up the second half with six more sacks. So the floodgates really open, and the Lions, both sides of the ball, really just chipped away at the Ravens, and that's what won them the game. It was gritty.
Well, good game plan by Shep again. They had the spy on the one play with Awasika, is it?
Oh,
Nowaski. Nope, sorry, Trevor Nowaski. And then they had Barnes, who's kind of floating, playing a little bit of zone, trying to hide. Almost felt like the Aiden Hutchinson interception where he's trying to hide a little bit. And then as soon as Lamar breaks, boom. Hello, have you met Michael?
Yeah, it was beautiful. Guys helping out guys. And the only few issues I saw, once again, we had the TA and Jack Campbell communication things where they still got to iron that out. Eventually we'll iron out, I think. But man, it was nice to see that defense, and with a leader like Shep, man, they're situationally different. That's what I told you guys, is it's not vastly different defense from what Aaron Glenn was doing in the terms of the scoreboard. Like I said, 30 points still on the board, but situationally they're getting off the field in moments where Aaron Glenn just was outsmarted. Maybe, I don't know what it was. Aaron Glenn just situationally it wasn't as strong, and Kelvin Shepherd lives for those moments, and they're getting like that fourth down, like I told you guys, third and goal. They often would get a third and goal stop, but then give it up on fourth down and goal. And yesterday it was nice to see something different there and actually get the stop. They're finishing things, I guess, with Shep, and I'm so excited to see what more can come from this, because I think after the bye, this defense is really going to turn it on.
Well, you still got Aleem, Rodrigo, Paschal. I mean, remind me if we got anybody else I'm forgetting about, but that's 3 big names. To give another rotation in a linebacker is huge. Aleem, DJ Reader and Tyleek look like they got it locked up. Can you imagine now bringing in Aleem? That's going to be awesome. And then Paschal as well, somebody to get on that outside, because it's really weird to know where the Prophet's at, right? Is he a D end? Is he an outside linebacker? He's got more of a body for an outside linebacker. He's not as big. So if he needs to play off the line, looks like it's very possible to do. I think right now they're going to have him play on the line more just because they need him there. But with getting Paschal back, it's just going to open up so many more things for him to do, and he's going to have a real opportunity.
It's great, and it's been a long time coming to get 7 sacks for this defensive line, and Aiden played a big role in that for the Prophet. As far as taking that attention away from the other side. So, hey, rising tide lifts all boats in my book. Aiden takes some of that attention and opens up more opportunity for the Prophet, and Prophet's probably had an outlier game yesterday, did Muhammad. Don't expect that from him every week. That's not a knock on the guy. I think he's great. However, he showed up in a big way, and I think probably not ready for him were the Baltimore Ravens with less tape on him than Davenport coming into this game, taking a lot of those roles. So Davenport probably back in the next 4 or 5 weeks, but Prophet's going to eat while that time is awaiting. Lions did not turn the ball over, as we highlighted, did not allow a single sack, and converted on every fourth down, and only missed 4 tackles on defense. That's another thing that Shep's really got these guys going. Missed tackles were an issue under AG. And the Ravens finished with 1 turnover and another one that was technically on downs, and allowed 7 sacks and missed 20 tackles. Complimentary football right there. And not so complimentary from the Ravens. Harbaugh is going to have some choice words, I'm sure, about that performance. But yeah, Andrew, do you want to talk about your turning point, spark plug moment of this game?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, mine was the 98-yard drive. That's when it felt like the offensive line clicked. It like fully clicked. They had guys getting to the second level. You had guys getting onto linebackers and then working their way up, trying to find the next guy. You had wide receivers blocking 30 yards down the field on that drive. I mean, everything worked so well. They had, I don't know how many third down conversions in that drive. I think Dan said post-game the whole goal of getting pinned at the 2 was to get 3 first downs so we can flip field and that we're not pinning our defense back again. So the whole deal was to get 3 first downs, and then they drive the length of the field, over 10-minute drive. I mean, you look at your clock, where did the game go? It was right there, and like I said, I think they all finally clicked and realized we can push these guys around for sure.
Yeah, the physicality, it really became apparent there, and we hadn't seen that as much in the first 2 weeks. We saw it a little bit against the Bears, but it's the Bears. And we did not see it against the Packers. We saw the reverse of it, honestly. So righting the ship in a big way in front of a big audience, with some trick plays in there as well. It was just a thing of beauty. And I think, we'll struggle to have that good of a Monday night matchup across the NFL the whole season. That could be one of the best ones. I'm sure that Mitch would echo your statement, Andrew, about the 98-yarder. That's the one he referred to as the best drive he's seen from the Lions. So he'd probably have that moment up there high on his board as well, considering he, I think, went to bed shortly after that. So, he didn't see much more, but from the highlights maybe. My favorite moment, I'll go a little further into the game. Got to give Jared credit on that touch throw on the 4th down. Amon-Ra, got to give him credit for those hands as well, and also faking like he's going to block, and he's always blocking, so it's believable, and him to leak out and to have that space that he created, and Jared dropped it in there. I got to be honest, I was a little worried when that ball went up in the air, because it, to me, off the hand, it looked like it was overthrown. I was a little worried. But that was my favorite moment by far.
I'm glad you brought that one up too, because that was probably one of my favorite play designs that I think I've seen, and it all got set up throughout the game. I think they said they've been practicing that play for like 3 years or something, and this is their first time running it. But you got Jameer back there, ready to get to the outside to the right is what it looks like. You've got Amon-Ra coming in motion. What's he going to do? Block the end man line of scrimmage so that Gibbs can get that corner. That's exactly what it looked like. And then I think it was with a tight end or maybe Leaf that was on that edge. You had a natural pick play as well, where it all gets caught up in the wash to the point of where they won't call it. And then Amon-Ra leaks out, and all the defender can do is grab a jersey.
Grab a jersey, they would too, but they didn't much. Three penalties on the day. But you're right, Andrew. The complexity of this offense seemingly exceeds what Ben Johnson was bringing to the table with Johnny Mo, and it's You, I'm getting a maybe. Am I overreacting to the Ravens game? Maybe.
I think it feels. I don't know if it was a Ben Johnson thing. I think at this point, I'm convinced it's a Dan Campbell thing.
Make no doubt about it. This is, if there were any concerns, and I know there were some people last year who were mighty loud about Dan Campbell is a cheerleader head coach, and he's leaning on his offense and defensive coordinators. Well, I don't think there's any doubt after last night's game. This is Dan Campbell's team, and it always has been, and it seemingly always will be, because swap the coordinators out, same outcome, same team, same feel, same grit, same fourth down approach. It all remains the same trick plays in there. Touched on it with you, Andrew, before the show. The pitch, the attention to detail to have Jared, what was the way you phrased it, Andrew? Hold it like a...
I think I said hold it like a beer rather than a sandwich.
Yep. So he's got, think for you visual learners out there, he held the ball. Watch the replay too if you want. Typical handoff like a sub sandwich, like a Subway sandwich. Flip that the other direction and take it off like a beer. And there you go. And you know what else, Andrew? Did you see the clip of where that play may have originated from?
I have not.
Saints ran it back in, oh gosh, I'm not going to remember the year, but it was when Dan Campbell was on that Saints coaching staff. So it's always fun to see where the lore of all of this. It's a thing of beauty.
Once again, I think it's a Dan Campbell thing at this point.
Should we just put that on repeat?
I think I have to. We saw Ben Johnson with the flea flicker, not nearly ran to the perfection the Lions can. But then you saw last night, like the pass from Montgomery to Goff to then throw to whatever we said, Brown or Gibbs, or Brown or Laporta. That was a play we've seen before, but the one that you bring up is one that we have not seen before, and that's what leads me to believe this is so far above Ben Johnson. This is more of a Dan Campbell thing.
It has to. It's not a coincidence anymore with what we're seeing. I think I actually went out of order with my favorite moments instead of the turning point spark plug. Thought it was going to be the fourth down stop. 4th and goal. I thought that was in the moment. I thought this is where it happens. Ravens can't come back from this if the Lions can pounce on this, and then they didn't. So it's kind of, can't put it on that, but I think it's just the energy that they came out in the second half. I touched on it with you in the group chat. I said, if the Lions, Baltimore had a chance to go 2-for-1, score before the half, get the ball out of the half. That's always going to be a turning point for me, is who can come out the hottest out of the half. And so I think coming out of the half, especially with that defensive statement, was my turning point. And they never lost the lead. Lions, that was what I mentioned to you, is the momentum's going to swing. You'll hear it in my halftime capsule. It's going to swing back and forth. You're on the road, hostile environment, but you just got to maintain, and you got to stay neutral when those times when the crowd gets behind, that momentum starts, and you just got to put it to bed. And they never let Baltimore exceedingly take over that momentum. Sure, there were swings, but they never lost full control. They were always managing this game. So that was big. That was big for me. And
I liked seeing Henry kind of freak out on the sidelines.
Yes.
That's
yes,
all
your
of
favorite
us.
moment.
That would have been all of us in that moment. At least me. Maybe not all of us. I'd have been very upset if I fumbled that ball, especially for him. He said he had done it the week before. He's had 3 so far this year, and he's not really
Every
known
week?
for what was that?
Every week, each game now. That's three games in a row, 3 fumbles, 3 games.
And correct me if I'm wrong, he's not really known for being loose with the football. So he's just mad at himself and and felt like he lost his team the game. And I think we can all relate to that as a human being. But crazy to watch somebody with golden grills freak out.
It's so much more elevated. It's also like Justin Jefferson, like with his chains and all the other BS that he has going on with his body. It's similar to that, but yeah, it's great to see that. It's so vindicating, I guess would be the word, the feeling of that, especially all the years that we went through as a Lions fans with The sole times that they were in primetime, they often were losses. And Dan Campbell, primetime Dan, man, he's more often than not going to win those primetime matchups, and also the waxing gibbous moon or waxing crescent. I don't even know what it was, but they're 10-1 now. Shout out to the Lions beat writer for that one.
Shout out to the moon.
Shout out to the moon, Mother Nature. Schedule some more games in this moon cycle. What do you say? Why don't we schedule all the big matchups on those moons? NFL, hint, hint. But yeah, I mean, not only Derrick Henry doing the helmet smash, spike, whatever you want to call it, but then he kind of like, I couldn't even really tell what happened. Did he fall?
Did he trip? I don't know.
That's the ultimate like instant karma. Like,
it is. And yeah, like once again, I can relate personally,
Yeah.
It would just eat you up inside. You want to smash everything in sight. And it's just relatable. But then you see somebody who's got a nose ring, the big hoop nose ring, and you've got the golden grills. You've got the perfect six-pack washboard abs. I mean, you look like a specimen of a human being, and they are human beings too.
They are. But he does have that interesting dichotomy about him. He's just an interesting feller. That guy, Derrick Henry. But definitely a mental thing going on with him right now. 3 fumble, like you said, sure-handed guy, not somebody that we ever see fumble the ball. I think last year, I can't remember. I'm distracted by there's one Mufasa in our document right now. I don't think he's going to jump in. I think he's filling in the band player of the week, which is great because that's where we're going next. Nicey dicey. Did you have anything else about the Prophet? The 7 sacks, grills there?
No, I was just wondering. You think that there's a somebody who makes grills for the team? Do you think they come to the facility to do that? Like, what do you think the process is there? Because Lamar's, my goodness, I don't think I've ever seen so many diamonds in a mouth. I don't know if I've ever seen a diamond in a mouth, let alone that many.
The cost of those diamonds probably far exceeds the cost of our houses and maybe our vehicles as well.
I mean, we were looking at like 15 diamonds per tooth.
Oh, yeah. And then what do you got? 26 teeth? Something like that, right?
Hey, I'm no dentist. I've lost
No.
a few as well. But my goodness, that was something to watch. It looked like a disco ball in his mouth.
Mitch is just now how's the line go in the Nelly song? Might cause a cold front if you take a deep breath.
Let me see your grills.
Would
You
you
wanna see my what?
We were gonna get grills at one point, if you remember that, Andrew.
Was that before or after I was poor?
There's got to be a joke in there somewhere.
Yeah, joke as I always have been.
Building generational wealth, though, are you right now? Generational wealth. That's what we're on to do. Before we go to band player of the week, one of the best moments of the DC era, a season and team defining drive, says Mitch. Agreed. Mitch from many miles away. Thank you, Mitch. Andrew, you, I was going to say like we could guess what Mitch's is, but he's now filled it out. So let's start with Mitch's band player of the week. He's got Johnny Mo, Shep, and everyone but TA? Question mark.
Well, he sees the weak link in the chain.
But you're always going to have somebody. And if we're nitpicky about TA, which we probably should be, it could be worse, maybe.
It could be worse. It absolutely could be worse. Golly, I don't even remember his name anymore. Ended up on the Unawarie. It could have Unawarie yet.
Amari Unawarie, Jeff Okuda, El Jefe, the line is long for DBs who have had short and dumpster fire careers in Detroit.
I will say, I think I'm in the camp of stop drafting cornerbacks, though.
Yeah, you're firm on that, aren't you?
Yeah, I think the last two have really done it for me. Rakestraw was another one. You just never know. It's such a hard translation. I mean, Rakestraw hasn't even gotten an opportunity with the injuries. So I'm really I think I'm over it. I think you got to get guys that can do it. Go get a DJ Reed. Go get a Meek. Go get those kind of guys and let them come into the system. I know you want to draft a person and let them be the system, but it's just such a hard translation where, maybe in college you're going against the best receiver on a team in college, 8-10 snaps a game, and the other ones you're on 2 and 3 receivers, whatever it may be, you're in some zone. And this one you're going to be on a number one guy off of any other team in college every single down, and it's just tough to translate.
It does not translate. It's got to be one of the, if not the most hard position to translate from college to NFL. And seemingly it seems like always the defense is harder to, just a different speed in the NFL, these offensive guys. It's harder to draft defense, I think, than offense for sure. And more specifically, the DBs. One outlier would be Brian Branch. They did well there.
Yeah, and he's more, of a safety nickel guy, and I'm sure Brad just went and got him on attributes alone, right?
He's just a freak, yeah.
He's a ball hawk.
We're looking for animals on both sides of the ball, really, but more specifically on defense. But he fits that mold, and I think, they moved up in the draft to take him around, I think it was pick 45. And if
Right
not,
on
I think he
Green
was
Bay.
going to be a Green Bay Packer, right?
I'm glad you said it because, that was the most satisfying part about the draft is stealing him from Green Bay.
Absolutely. How just, I don't even want to envision a world, but like how much would we hate Brian Branch if he was a Packer? Oh my God, that would be, he would be that Packer.
We'd be getting the double birds in Ford Field.
Without a doubt. Him and Quay Walker would have been fighting over who had the most penalties on that defense.
Oh, you're not wrong about that.
Who's your BAM of the week?
My BAM of the week, I'm going with the full coaching staff here. They brought it up so many times. I think they said 8 total that they've replaced over the years, 6 assistants, and both coordinators. Shep. I don't have any more worries about Shep. I think I was a little more worried about Shep because the defense is what it is. We know what the offense is. And he's fully gained my trust here. These players want to play for him, and they play hard, and he gets it out of them. And then, you roll over to BaltiMO. I didn't think it could be sexy again, buddy. Thanks for giving it back to me.
Bringing sexy back. Shout out Justin Timberlake. BaltiMO, do you think we should we shorten that even more to Jomo?
Jomo,
or is that too
wow.
much?
We might have to. Jomo, not to be confused with Waymo.
Ooh, that's a good point. We got Jomo, Waymo, Romo. No, just kidding. Not Romo. But
Get him out.
Get it. Bleep that, Tommy. So I'm going to go a little uncharacteristic here and maybe unpopular with taking Hutch here. I think stats-wise, accounted for a lot of those. What did they have? 30 pressures on the day to the Lions, which is just astronomical. If you would have told me that's what they would have against the Ravens, I think I would have called you a lunatic. But Hutch, like I said, taking a lot of those double teams, taking a lot of pressure, allowing the rest of the defensive line to get theirs, and then he eventually got his sack, and he forced a fumble on Derrick Henry, like we mentioned, and that was huge in the moment, and took that attention for profit to get his. So I give it to Hutch and Shep.
You just want Hutch's price tag to go up? You know his agent listens to this, dude.
It's my bad. Actually,
that's a 6-time award-winning BAM Player of the Week.
Mm-hmm. And that's on the resume. When they bring in the papers, documents, tape, it's at the top of the list, no doubt.
No doubt. Alphabetically, nearly all the way there.
All right, shareholders. We need you to figure out who the BAM's Player of the Week. That's right. The S in BAM's is for shareholders. So before we roll the halftime capsules, our scores, I had 31-27 for the Lions. Thought at one point that was going to happen. Andrew, you had 24-17. Maybe we'll just gloss right over that one. Mitch, though, 34-31, very close. 34-31 Lions, the final 38-30. So very close, my friend. Nicely done. Let's roll the halftime capsules. I'm going to go get my notes because I didn't bring them in with me, and I'm thinking I'm surely forgot something because this game had just about everything. Not only are the Lions having to play the Ravens, they're also having to play against good Charlotte that's playing right now. How are they supposed to win in these conditions? I digress. Shout out Mitch. Hey, well, you know what? 0-0 at half, essentially, here. 14-14, punch, counter-punch kind of game, and two really solid teams. So, some things to clean up in the second half. Too many negative plays on offense, getting behind the sticks. That's really hurting things. Penalties as well, both sides of the ball. TA's got to be better on defense. We know that. But two very season-defining drives by the offense and the defense. That 98-yard drive on the offense was grown man football. Need more of that in the second half. Defense need to get some stops like they did in the first half. That stop on 3rd and 4th and goal, season-defining. Gave me so much confidence, but here we are at half, 0-0. So, push first half. Lions got to maintain this control, maintain the momentum swings, and just stay neutral. Let's go Lions in the second half. A stop out of the half would be huge.
All right, shareholders, here we are, halftime capsule. Apparently a trait of this Detroit Lions football team is going to be not scoring after turnovers or big stops, because, boy, what an absolute waste. Gave the Ravens the ball back, allowed them to tie this game, only for us to get it, and Jake Bake's good opportunity, but missed kick. I mean, that's just poor offensive showing there. We're already going against Vinovich and this terrible crew.
There it is.
Ben said it best. Second half, 0-0. Defense, you got to keep hunting. Keep him contained. Terrion Arnold, figure it out or get the fuck off the field. I'm so sick of looking at you. Sorry, earmuffs. It's a little too late. Oof. Other than that, offense, we just got to put more points on the board. And boy, I'm going to be sick watching this game. Let's go Lions.
High-level analysis.
Earmuffs? Earmuffs, everybody.
I thought for a minute there that J-Mo's brother may have taken over your halftime capsule. Did you catch that? J-Mo's brother, I don't know his name, but he posted on his Instagram story, and he was like, man, 6 is so ass. Get him out of here.
Well, it's tough, right? I mean, it's like we said, it's the toughest position out there. And Lamar, to the Lions' credit, didn't scramble a ton, but he did. It's just really tough that every time there's a big catch, you see a number 6 trailing just a few steps away.
Or a penalty flag.
Yeah, that's the other one. Or getting told he's too small.
Yeah, it's tough. He's not doing himself a lot of favors out there, is TA. But yeah, what can you do? Hopefully you can learn from DJ Reed. I took out my notes to make sure we didn't forget anything that I was thinking of. First of all, field goal was no good, by the way. Ravens.
I thought you meant Jake Bates and say, yeah, we're aware.
67 yards. No, but the Baltimore Ravens kick was certainly missed.
Yeah,
I'm in that camp.
That was strange. Head on in the moment, I thought, oh, he just hit it really high and he crushed it. When they show the other view, though, I mean, you need a double camera angle, 2 angles, same screen. News to me, though, I didn't know you couldn't review those.
I think I did know that, because it's like, again, how do you know that for sure? Here's the thing. That rarely happens, so it's probably not worth the resources. But we've got pylon cameras on every stadium now, and we've got them down every line. Why don't we have a goalpost camera, or a goalpost? Well, yeah, I guess goalpost, uprights, whatever you want to call them, straight up. I mean,
or just a drone. Simple. We've already got a spider cam that goes everywhere. You just throw a drone up in the back of the end zone as that thing's coming. Have it try to dodge a football. That'd be good entertainment.
There you go. And if you hit it, it's an extra point.
Boom. Welcome to the Canadian League.
XFL is going to take notes right now. Or I'm sorry, what is it? The UF? What is it even called? The UFL?
USFL? Yeah, that sounds right.
Well, the XFL and the USFL combined, so I think it's just the UFL.
Their child is the UFL. Okay.
Yes, combined, they have the UFL. I don't know. I may have missed it, Andrew, in your band player of the week. Did you touch on the traveling fans?
No, I did not, but I think you texted that, and that was the first time I had really even attempted to pay attention.
Lions.
Yeah. You start hearing that coming through the broadcast, and you think, what are they just pumping that in? That's not at the stadium. And then you saw the post game. There was a lot of Lions fans hanging around.
Yeah, and in a stadium that is so tried and true, M&T Bank Stadium, they bleed purple, and to see that presence, I know the last time the Lions went in 2023, there was nada, not a lot of Honolulu blue. So I was surprised in a primetime Monday night matchup to see how much Lions travel, and we're used to that a little bit, but in Baltimore, it really surprised me.
Credit.
Credit where credit is due. I think that does it for the notes. I think that does it for this show. We're on a little break here until we've got some travels in the works. So we're not going to have our typical walkthrough Wednesday tomorrow. Just re-listen to this episode, re-download, re-rate it 5 stars, like it, comment, subscribe, all those things that really do help us grow and show out. We appreciate it, shareholders. We would be remiss if we didn't touch on the Lions versus Browns in week 4, back in the 1 o'clock slot. Short week for these Lions, and the Browns off of a big win against the Green Bay Packers. So, one, we love that they beat the Packers, down with the NFC North besides the Lions. But, the Browns are going to be hot coming into this game.
Is this in Detroit?
That's what I'm looking up right now. I can't recall. It's in Detroit, yes.
I hope we get the blueberries again.
Well, at this point, they've only gone all whites or all blues. So, folks out there that like the uniforms to be a little more contrasty, not so much, because they're kind of superstitious at this point. Any guesses, Andrew, on what the line is for Browns at Lions?
Well, I'm gonna say the Browns are gonna get, let's call it 6.5.
A little higher.
7.5.
Little bit higher.
8.
It was 8.5. Let me just confirm that's still 8.5 for the Lions.
Good for them. And what was the biggest spread of the week? I think you touched on that in the chat.
It is none other than Bills versus Saints, and the Saints being, on our watch, Andrew, that we touched on our watch for winless for the year. I really think that has legs for them to not win a single game this year. Highly likely, actually. They are 16.5 point underdogs, which I don't know. I don't know that I've seen one that high. Usually we get like a 14.5, 13.5 in like week 15 when guys are hurt and backups are in and games don't mean as much. But in week 4 to have a 16.5 points, that's college level.
It is. I mean, Alvin Kamara did leave the game this week, so maybe they're taking into account he's not going to play. If that's into account with Kamara playing and he's ruled out for this week, boy, I'm hoping it doesn't hit 21.
It could be north of there.
That's sad. Anyway, put your house on the Saints to cover.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's smart decision. Absolutely go contrarian against that matchup. Yeah. I'm a big believer in the Saints, are we? I'm a little bit surprised that the over-under for the Browns-Lions at 44.5. I don't know that the Lions, they put up 100 points the last 2 weeks. Actually, yeah, right? 52, was it 52 and 38?
Yeah.
So they've almost put up 100 points over the last 2 weeks.
I think they have 103 on the year.
Yeah, 13 the first week, 90 combined the last 2 weeks, and then 13 the first week. That makes the first week even more of an outlier. But yeah, I mean, I think Browns' defense is pretty solid. So maybe the Lions don't get to score as many points this week. And I know you touched on it with me. Is Myles Garrett's a freak. Definitely going to see a lot of Myles Garrett next week.
Yeah, and I'm sure everybody's seen the clip now of him absolutely roasting the left tackle of the Green Bay Packers. And that's a good move. That's a scarily built human being. I don't understand how that works. Let's run to the right side.
Yeah, away from one Myles Garrett, probably the move. Joe Mo. Sorry, apologies. But yeah, I mean the PFF grades, look them up. They're insane for this offensive line, above 90. I think we're gonna not see quite as high next week. I think it's a different opponent. Ravens were down one of their best defensive linemen, But we're not going to apologize for that because think about all the injuries the Lions had last year and teams weren't apologizing for those wins against the Lions. So we certainly are not going to do that. But
you're locked in here.
That's our show. Oh, sorry, Andrew. You had something?
That's just the Dan Campbell thing. You're locked in here with us for 60 minutes.
And they will be locked in at Ford Field next week on Fox, 1 p.m. Eastern. Browns coming to Detroit. We'll be back to recap that one and maybe have a little bonus episode. We're all three going to be, I think, together for the first time ever in this podcast. And we may have a little treat for you next Sunday. We'll see what we can do. And if not, we'll have maybe a more traditional show come Monday based on schedules. And then we'll be back into our cadence with Walkthrough Wednesday and everything you know and love when the Lions take on the Bengals, I believe, after the Browns. Yeah. So we'll be back into a normal cadence come Wednesday to preview the Bengals next week. Until then, enjoy this one, folks. This was a great win for the Lions. Much more to come, though. It's still only week 4. Entering into week 4. A lot to go. Long road. But a good one. Let's go, Lions.
Rah.